And you know, there's a lot of bad fake news out there. One thing I heard of recently, you know, is, and this is spreading to the Christian friends of Israel in America, that Israel is, persecuting Christians in Israel. My God, the only people believe these lies, you know, the only place in the Middle East where the Christians are fully safe, not to engage in their faith, but well beyond that, you know, to flourish, to thrive, is in Israel. Take the city of Bethlehem, well known to Christians, obviously. Okay, Bethlehem, when we ceded it in the Oslo Accords, okay, to the Palestinian Authority, was about 80% Christian. That was just a few decades ago. Now it's 20% because they turned it into, you know, they drove out the Christians. And that's happening throughout the Middle East. The only place where Christians are fully protected, enjoy not merely equality, but a place of honor and dignity and support and embrace is in Israel, in the Jewish population and the Christian population. So this is just horrible. I mean, the bad mouthing and the fake news reaches everywhere. And I implore my Christian friends to be armed with the truth. You don't need anything else, just the truth, the historical truth, present-day truth. There is no greater partnership than the state of Israel and the believing Christians around the world.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've been going since about 1986. It made the Bible in so many ways come alive, but I fell in love with the people, with the culture, with the nation. I took my children and my grandchildren right before the horrific October 7th attack. And we embedded ourselves, a good friend was having a bar mitzvah. We embedded ourselves within the Orthodox community and had Shabbat together and ate together and fellowship together, studied the Torah together, went all over Israel. And it was one of the most memorable, best times that we have had as a family. And so we're so grateful. I encourage Christians all over the world, you must make your journey to Israel.
Listen to Paula.
I say it will be the best.
We will welcome you. In Jerusalem and Nazareth and the Sea of Galilee and all the places that you hear about, they're not somewhere remote. They're real places. They're actually very close to each other. So you can actually see where the Bible happened. You can actually see where it happened. And there are remnants too. I mean, there are churches. You know, there's a church right in the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus preached.
Oh, yeah.
In Capernaum. It's there. It's standing there. You can stand exactly where Jesus stood. You can walk in the footsteps of Jesus.
See, I'll just start
and the
going.
Hebrew kings.
The Pilgrim's Path.
And everywhere. And the prophets. All the prophets that you know, Jeremiah, Isaiah, you know.
It's so life-transforming. I love going up to Shiloh this past time where Hannah prayed and just meditating there and seeing just the richness of the Bible in its entirety. It makes everything make sense. And now the archaeological things that have been discovered and the findings that are still happening really give people such an education that, I'll be honest, they will not get over here in America at 30 minutes in a church or an hour to church service. They certainly won't get in the universities over here.
Well,
it's almost, I say as a Christian, it should be mandated to go to Israel before you get to heaven. I'm so with you.
I'd say come to Israel and be critical of what you get in the, not in the universities. I think in the elite university, there's been almost a closing of the American minds.
Yes.
Closing of young minds, reversing the truth. Israel is the problem in the Middle East. No, Israel is the solution in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Israel is the enemy of the United States. Israel is the friend of the United States. Israel, in many ways, is confronting the very enemies that would like to destroy America. And unfortunately, this rot has entered into the campuses. You know, there are all sorts of NGOs that were doing this. Unfortunately, Qatar was doing this.
Yes, of course.
They were giving a lot of this stuff, promoting a lot of this stuff. And you see it, unfortunately, in Al Jazeera, too, in Arabic. Just promoting this anti-Americanism and anti-Zionism, which is weaved together. And I would say it's time for a change. And I think Donald Trump is bringing that change. And good for him. It's about time.
I do too, and I encourage you. We're raising up because we recognize our own battles here and raising up a generation. My son pastors now. He's almost 40 years old in a few months. and he's one of the biggest advocates for Israel. There are those voices, but the Bible is very clear that a house divided cannot stand. So the enemy outside attacked within. If I can get within and divide the people against each other, and there are some things that are non-compromising to God, and Israel is one of those. And with a biblical view as a Christian, you must understand. I told Niv, I said, I can be, you could be Jewish without being Christian, but you cannot be Christian without understanding the roots of Judaism. It's impossible.
Which is, and the roots of Christianity are embedded.
Absolutely.
And Judaism, as you know, but it's not accidental that the founders of Israel, even though many of them were secular, they were also imbued with the Bible.
So Sarah's father is a scholar.
Well, he was a poet and a writer, but he was a great biblical scholar and a teacher of the Bible. So he in fact was a member of David Ben-Gurion's first Bible study group. David Ben-Gurion was our first prime minister. And it's so significant how significant the Bible was for him in that generation. Even the secular leaders among them believed that the Bible was the foundation of our existence and of our renewal. So they had a Bible study class of which my late father-in-law was a member. And one time we brought my wife, Sarah, she was a little girl, to that place where they met. And many years later, I renewed the Bible study group in the Prime Minister's residence because I believe that the Bible is the foundation on which we stand. By the way, 3 of Sarah's brothers were national Bible quiz champions. We have a Bible quiz. It's tough.
Yeah.
And they were champions. And our son, at the age of 15, was a national Bible champion, too. So we've got the Bible running strongly in my family.
I so admire this because one of the things with Judaism and in Israel is there is such an understanding of your faith. People really study the Torah, study the Word of God, and the importance of that. As you kind of mentioned before, we touched on this, that there's this false narrative going out to America, particularly through the fake news, through probably outlets and maybe even people that have been, I always say, follow the money trail and find out, why someone's saying what they're saying. Or because in America, I would, if I'd be in a city and I would see these protesters that were against America, against Israel, I try to go up and sometimes speak to a few of them. They had no idea.
They don't have a clue.
Not a clue what they were even, quote unquote, protesting. And I started thinking, they're being paid, really. I mean, I thought, like, what are they, and it wasn't nearly as big as the media would make it look. It was a very small handful of people. But let's talk about that, because around the world there are, President Trump might call them some bad actors, and then there are good countries and countries that are not. Israel is it's the religious right, but it's also geopolitically right, the only place of democracy in the Middle East. And some of that messaging has come from other countries. Maybe it's Iran, Qatar. Talk to me about some of the things that we fight here in America that people might not recognize.
Well, I think you're right. Iran has been sponsoring this, but Qatar has to choose. I think our newly appointed ambassador says, you can't fund the arsonists and the firefighters at the same time. You can't do that. So you have to choose. Which side are you on?
Yeah.
You can't play all sides. Choose. They recently helped us with the ceasefire, the temporary ceasefire. But they were hosting these Hamas terrorists. Choose.
Yeah.
Choose. If that choice is made stark and clear, I think it'll help everyone. It'll help everyone in the Middle East, everyone in the world. And it will help also get the facts straight. The most important thing is people have to, you say they have to get the facts straight. They don't know any facts. They don't even have crooked facts or false facts. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
They just say, Israel is the bad guy, and they go in. I think America has no greater friend than Israel, no greater ally.
Agreed.
And Israel doesn't have a greater ally than the United States. And most of the American people understand that.
They do. And we've got to make sure that we continue that understanding. Because as you said, Prime Minister, There's the little devil, the big devil in that ideology.
That's right.
And if people understood for many in a very terrorist mindset or an ideology that are raised that way, it is death to America. And they might not be speaking that. They are.
They do?
They are.
They do?
They are.
They do.
But they'd say it's not just about the destruction of Israel. It doesn't stop there. And I believe that is because of the foundation of faith. I believe that because we know two things, that America was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and Israel is founded on Father Abraham. And we are out of that. And so we clearly understand that, many of us here in America, but we've got to make sure that we're educating the generations after us and continue to preach this, teach this, talk this, have it over dinner, research it, get the information, get it right, as you said.
But you know, people sometimes think that everything that trends that you saw before will continue indefinitely into the future. For example, people question whether the younger generation in Israel, which resorts sometimes to TikTok and other things, will they fight for our country and for our survival and our future when the test comes? They fought and fight like lions, like lions.
Yes.
The Bible says they shall rise like lions, and they did, and they do. And people here say the next generation of Christians are being weaned away or waning in their support for Israel, maybe, but maybe also in their, in their commitment to America's traditional values. Who says that's got to continue?
Right.
I think there's a change happening right now. I think it just happened.
Yeah, I do.
I think a change just happened, and people seek spiritual content for their lives, and many are coming back to religion. And when they do, and when they look for the sources, the well springs of our civilization, our societies, they'll come back to the roots, and the roots came from that land that you visit, that piece of land at the edge of Asia, the edge of the Mediterranean is where it's all started. And I gave 4 speeches before the joint session of Congress. Okay, and every time I go there, I stand on that podium, and I look at that hall. That's actually the mother of all democracies, the assembly of all assemblies, okay? The parliament of all parliaments. And I look at the wall, right? Smack looking at me is the tablet that says Moses, the lawgiver. And it actually has a quote from the Bible, I think. I'm quite sure. And that's the foundation.
Yes.
They spoke about a city of the hill, the founding fathers of America. Right. That city was Jerusalem. America was founded as the New Jerusalem, connected to the original Jerusalem. And that's a partnership that I think is not going to disappear. I think we may be at a cusp, at a turning point, where that enthusiasm, in fact, is re-energized. And I think it's going to happen.
I do too. And let me encourage you with this, because I'm sure there's, the fake news media all over the world. America right now is experiencing a 22% increase in Bible sales.
Really?
Huge. And then churches are actually, what is growing are young churches. So, and when I say that, a demographic, the people that are returning are going to church for the first time by the droves. The percentages that are increasing the highest are men that are under 30.
So Paul, you just gave me an idea. You just gave me an idea. Okay? So I have this Bible study thing, right? To be honest, the war got in the way. Although I read the Bible during the war, but I didn't have time to assemble people. So my idea is this. Just coming out of this interview. So we do this internet Bible study group, and we bring in English speakers, and we take a portion of the Bible and we discuss it. And I think that may actually, let's see how that goes.
That would be phenomenal. Phenomenal. If anyone could handle the technology of that, that is Israel. We know that.
If you're a Christian and you study the Bible and you're a believer and you want to immerse yourself in the common origins of our heritage, then come to Israel and see the actual places where all these things took place and also learn the facts about ancient Israel and modern Israel. You have no greater friend.
Well,
And we have no greater friend than our Christians.
I was going to say, as a Christian, it's our homeland. You have to go to your homeland.